Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Common Sense Academy. I am your host, Joe Palmetto, Joe the Lawyer. There is a special story today that drew me back in to make a video. And, like Michael Corleone, the great Al Pacino said in The Godfather, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. And I'm back to bring you this special story. I just couldn't resist. I couldn't resist because it just hit too close to home. So if you like my content, if you like the Common Sense Academy, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Think about buying my book on sovereign citizens. Thank you very much again for tuning in. Now, before I tell you what we're here for, and you might be cheating and, you might be reading these words over here. That's okay. I forgive you for that. Before we get into the topic of today's video, I got a special glass here. Raise your cup, your glass, your chalice in the air, your drink, whatever it is that you have. Raise your cup in the air. Sip with me. It tastes better when we sip together. Cheers. Welcome on this tremendous Friday night. Hello, Adam. Hello, Ken. Hello, Chief Tuttle. The reason I felt I had to jump in and make a video, and I've been meaning to get back to making videos for a long time. I know that hasn't happened. But what drew me back to this, as you can see from the title, sovereign citizens have attacked and terrorized my local courthouse. Now, I am out of Pittsburgh, PA, so I mostly practice law in Allegheny County and at the Allegheny County Courthouse. But right down the street, if you look on a map and you look at counties in Pennsylvania, the county that is directly below Pittsburgh is called Washington County, and the county seat and the largest city in that county is Washington, PA. So we got the town of Washington, the city of Washington inside Washington County, PA. It's a great courthouse. If you ever went to my Instagram, I post pictures of it. I love it. It's an old courthouse, very classic, very cool in every way. The architecture, all the interior, it looks like something outside of a movie. It looks to me like what a courthouse should look like. There's only a handful of judges that are down there. And while it's a smaller county, it's probably the third largest in Western PA, Southwestern PA, after Allegheny County and Westmoreland. So let's dig right into this. And you're gonna love, if you guys aren't familiar with this already, but you're gonna love it when we get a little bit more into it, okay? Multiple suspicious packages were sent to Washington County Courthouse and surrounding buildings on Thursday, prompting buildings to go on lockdown. There was an announcement over the speaker that was like, "Don't open any white packages," said Macy Divins, who works in the county building. The FBI said that 5 judges and 1 county employee received suspicious packages, and that 2 more additional packages were found addressed to a former county employee. The FBI said the package did not contain any hazardous materials or powder. It is unclear just how many were open, but at least 2 people who touched the contents were sent to the hospital as a precaution. The sheriff's office said all Washington County offices located in the courthouse, Family Court Center, Courthouse Square, and Crossroads Center, I'm down there at least once a week, have been closed. They said they expect to resume normal operations on Friday. And this happened yesterday. And here's some pictures of the sheriff's department outside the courthouse. People who work in the courthouse and county building in Washington are being told to go home. Officials said there's not to believe to be any threat to public safety at this time, but encourage people to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity to law enforcement. The FBI, along with the Washington County Sheriff's Office, Public Safety, DA's Office, Fire, Police, Ambulance, Chair, and Postal Service are all involved in the investigation. So hopefully they can find this individual. This is not the first time packages similar to the one sent in Washington County today were distributed to different municipalities. A similar package was sent to the Charleroi Water Authority a few months ago. The package was filled with documents. Charleroi Water Authority is a town not far from Washington, PA. Now, this is where we get to the good stuff. Sources say some of the exact same documents found in that envelope were also found in Washington County. You say, what was in the packages, Jeff? There were documents in there, and we're going to take a look at what those documents were. The documents allegedly had an overwhelming bad odor to them. What do you guys think? Sovereign citizens, bad odor? Maybe it was just their body odor? I don't know. The solicitor in Charleroi said when he heard about the suspicious packages, he was immediately on alert and notified officials. He believes the suspect sent a similar package to Charleroi Water Authority on October 31st. The documents include references to the Sovereign Empire, Office of the President, dated July 4th, 1776. A former custodian listed as Joseph Biden, Office of the Treasury, United States Bankruptcy, with bankruptcy misspelled, and finally, the Empire State of Morocco. The contents, this is how the article ends. The contents were bizarre and disturbing enough that water authority officials called their solicitor. Another similarity between the package and the one sent to the courthouse today had an almost identical return address to a street in Denora. Now, because I get a little bit of inside information, okay, I'm pretty sure that street in Denora, the return address on the package, went to an old, very rundown, abandoned house. So this is what's going on in America, the United States of the Moroccan Empire. Let's throw the video on real quick. It's playing up here. It's playing down. Why isn't it playing? Where is the video? Let me see if I can get the sound on this video, and let's watch. Here, wait a minute. Whoa!
Moments today in Washington County after several suspicious packages were sent to several county offices, and some of those packages were sent to county judges.
It is unclear what was in all of those packages, but we do know more than one person was taken to the hospital for treatment. Take a look at these 5 buildings, including the Washington County Courthouse. They have been shut down. Our team of reporters has been calling officials to try to get a better idea of exactly what happened.
I can't get
news reporter Nicole.
I wasn't prepared for this video, so we're just going to listen.
Spoke to a woman who was inside the courthouse when they started shutting it down.
That's right, David. It was a chaotic scene when we got here just afternoon as people spilled out of this building as well as the courthouse across the street. Well, we now know that there was 8 different packages sent to both of these buildings, but at the time, those workers only knew that they were told to get out and go home.
There was an announcement over the speaker that was something like, don't open any white packages.
That's the announcement this woman heard after 8 white suspicious packages were delivered to 5 judges in the courthouse, 1 county elected official, and 2 more former employees.
Hopefully everybody's okay.
This was what those envelopes looked like, with a return address in Western PA that we blurred. Some of those packages were opened according to county leaders, and at least 2 people went to the hospital out of precaution.
Overabundance of caution, every single Washington County office has been evacuated at this time.
Closed down, and an investigation involving the FBI and United States Postal Inspector began. The substance inside those packages was already tested.
The County Department of Public Safety has testing equipment. From the testing equipment,
County Commissioner.
Nothing harmful was detected.
In the meantime, the FBI encourages anyone to report suspicious activity as they continue their investigation, but say there is no threat to public safety at this time. Now, all 5 5 of those county buildings have been shut down and locked down since just after noon this afternoon. But now that everything has been tested, they do plan to open as normal tomorrow morning. Reporting live in Washington tonight, Nicole Forch.
And I know because I practice in Washington that they were open. Again, the Moorish Empire has struck again. My favorite part is just this great list here. And I really hope, everyone, I really, really hope that they spelled sovereign empire wrong, like it says here. And I really, really hope that they spelled bankruptcy wrong like that. I do. Oh, man. Here's the thing, though. I've had a couple of run-ins with sovereign citizens lately in my job as an attorney. I can't talk about too many of them, but I can talk about this one because this didn't involve me. Now, my thought process was as follows. Okay, this list that I've highlighted right here is the playbook to find this individual, right? That's what I think. Now, what throws them off a little bit, what throws you off is that they did this to Charleroi back on October 31st, but still, that wasn't that long ago. So what I would do if I was part of the investigating team is I might go back 5 years and look up all the sovereign citizens, all the known sovereign citizens who were prosecuted in Washington County for criminal cases. And that might sound like it's hard, but it's maybe not as hard as you think, because many of these judges will likely remember, because, man, we all know they put on a show. So a lot of these judges will remember, or there should be electronic records that somebody can go through in order to figure it out. And really, excuse me, the DAs know. Brooke's right. The DAs know. I might give a call down there because I may have more knowledge about these sovereign citizens. But as you all know, there's certain words that they have in their names, right? So Bay and L and things like that. So there's ways to, I think, narrow the search. You don't want to eliminate the people that didn't change their names or use those names. But the people who do use those names should definitely be on the list. The other key was the Postal Service. The Postal Service may not be able to exactly track who sent it, but they can probably tell where it was sent out of, which post office or which post office drop box. And if you want to get really crazy, you start to set up some surveillance there, at least for a little bit, or maybe off and on, or you put some cameras there and see who's and if somebody walks in wearing the cap, it just might give them away. But I just couldn't resist this story, everyone. This is right down the street from me. The sovereign citizen stuff, man, it's bigger, better, badder, and more popular than ever. And it is freaking everywhere. It is everywhere. And I know I've been making videos and, covering all the trials that have involved sovereign citizens because we've had so many of them. I've just been like crazy busy in my law practice. But this one I could not resist, because I got emails about it and I was hearing about it because I practice in this area before it was even on the news. So just too freaking funny. In another story, I think that I would like to cover. Let me see what I can do here real quick. Maybe I can find this other story. There was this guy. Okay, there's this other case. And I think he went a little sovereign-y, but not full sovereign-y. Criminal defendant, Western PA punches lawyer. And this gentleman here, okay, James, let's get to the final story. Okay, so I can go into this story with you. This is a good article here on it, the Trib. Okay, this gentleman, he didn't quite go full sovereign citizen, but this is an interesting story. Man deemed evil, career offender gets life in federal prison in drug and weapons case. And this happened here in Western Pennsylvania. I practice in this court. A man who was so disruptive during his federal case, including attacking his own defense attorney and urinating on a courtroom floor, that he was tried in absentia, was sentenced Tuesday to serve the rest of his life in prison. James Tarek Byrd, 44, formerly of Pittsburgh, did not act out during his 2-hour sentencing hearing on convictions for drug and weapons charges. U.S. District Judge Kathy Bassoon warned him when the proceedings began that if he was disruptive in any way, he would be escorted out. Byrd has a lengthy criminal history, including convictions for kidnapping, aggravated assault, and a pending rape case in Allegheny County. He was facing a prison term of 25 years, but because of that history, he is considered to be a career offender in federal court, and a life sentence was available to Bassoon. She took it. The defendant has demonstrated little or no regard for the law. Life in prison is the only appropriate option. This is not a murder case. This is not a rape case, even though he has a rape charge. When you are not incarcerated, you commit serious crimes. While incarcerated, your egregious behavior does not abate. You've terrorized and traumatized those you've encountered. Anything less than life, Bassoon concluded, would not protect the public. As part of her sentence, the judge ordered that Byrd serve his time in a federal prison as far from Pittsburgh as possible. Let me scroll. Let's get to this article. Bassoon began the hearing by recounting Byrd's history in the federal case and what she called his egregious behavior throughout. It included him spewing vulgarities at Bassoon and his own attorneys, refusing to follow the instructions of U.S. Marshals, refusing to exit his cell during one hearing, urinating on the courtroom floor. While he was hospitalized to determine if he was competent to stand trial, Bassoon said Byrd threatened staff, made sexual advances to them, engaged in indecent exposure. Then, during jury selection, this is when I first heard about this guy. Although this is very, despite what we see on the news, this is very uncommon. This is very uncommon. During jury selection in July, Byrd physically, violently, and without warning attacked his attorney by sucker punching him in the head. He was removed from the courtroom and had to watch his own trial on a video monitor. The jury found Byrd guilty of possession of firearm by convicted felon, possession with intent to deliver cocaine, heroin, and marijuana, and possession of a firearm during a drug trafficking offense. While preparing for his sentence, Byrd had a video call with his defense attorney, Michael DeRisso. Authorities learned in mid-July, I heard about this too. I forgot about this. Byrd had recorded the meeting via video from inside the jail and had the nearly hour-long meeting uploaded to YouTube. And let me explain that. So since COVID, we didn't do this before COVID. The Allegheny County Jail, I'm sure a lot of jails across the country are doing this, are allowing video meetings between the attorney and the prisoner. Now, these meetings are done in a controlled room. I'm a little bit puzzled about how he recorded it. He might have had some sort of contraband material in there, like a phone or a laptop or some sort of access on the computer that was used that he would have had to putz around with the computer in order to get, because those computers should be secured. But if he has a little bit of knowledge on computers, he might have been able to do this. So he recorded this video and uploaded it to YouTube. Officials found Byrd had uploaded at least 15 videos, including some in which he identified the alleged victim in the rape case and gave a sample opening statement. The case was supposed to go to trial earlier this month, but was postponed because of the videos. I think that makes me think he had a cell phone. He had a cell phone when he was in there. That case was supposed to go to trial earlier this month, but postponed because of the videos. In his sentencing brief, Assistant U.S. Attorney Brendan Conway called Byrd an evil person with no willingness or capacity to empathize with others. During Tuesday's hearing, Conway praised the woman named in the rape case for the courage she showed in testifying against Byrd during his federal trial. She came over to testify against him in federal court while she's still awaiting her testimony in state court on his rape case. While she attended the sentencing, the woman initially chose not to speak. However, after Byrd repeatedly denied having harmed her, the woman asked to address the court. Wow, man, that's powerful. I'm telling you. You know, when you're putting on a case in court, it's like a play, and the energy can flow back and forth, and I can just see the energy in a situation like that. Boy, that was not going to be good for him. She told Bassoon she'd known Byrd since 1998 and he was controlling. He was incarcerated for 15 years during that time, the woman said, but he returned to Pittsburgh after being released from prison in Ohio. He came home this time worse than he went in. Violence he poured out on women. I stand up here for all the victims he has hurt. So many people are afraid of him coming home. Retaliation, she said. I just ask that you see through what he's trying to do. If he gets out, he will hurt again. Byrd, who prides himself on legal knowledge he gained in jail, a jailhouse lawyer, argued to the court that he has not yet been convicted on the rape case. It was inappropriate for the judge to consider those charges. Let's scroll down here towards the end of this article. Byrd also told Bassoon he'd never threatened anyone. The judge responded she listened to recorded calls between Byrd and the victim while he was incarcerated. She quoted him from the calls. I will definitely come home and murder you. You can call the cops. I'm going to kill myself afterwards. I will kill you and me. You make an enemy out of me, and I'll be your worst nightmare, she said, repeating his recorded comments. I'll probably get demonetized for that. I don't care. Byrd responded none of his comments were intended as threats and that he only said them because he was angry. He tried to argue Bassoon should not be able to consider his convictions in PA and Ohio. Here it is. Because they are separate sovereigns, and by doing so, she was violating his rights against double jeopardy. Byrd also claimed he had signed a voluntary expatriation document from the United States and wished to continue his life as a citizen of Morocco. I forgot that I had read that, and that's why I went to it today. I have a right to my nationality, he said. Bassoon ultimately denied his request and overruled his objections. I always wish, Mr. Byrd, you'd use your smarts for good. Byrd told the court that he has worked to advocate on behalf of those incarcerated in the Allegheny County Jail and provided them with legal assistance. What, on how to get fake Moroccan passports? While also volunteering for charities for hurricane relief. He argued he should have a chance to be rehabilitated in prison so that he can someday be free again. I have a different perspective on my value to society. If you want mercy, you have to show mercy, he said. When Bassoon handed down Byrd's sentence, the woman who testified against him and her supporters broke out in applause. Another powerful statement. Byrd is among a group of plaintiffs who are suing the Allegheny County Jail over the conditions of solitary confinement there. The complaint filed in 2020 alleges Byrd been diagnosed with anxiety, depression, bipolar, and PTSD. He's been in custody at the jail since February 2015 and placed in solitary dozens of times. The lawsuits allege that corrections officers have used force against Byrd more than 20 times. Well, while I truly sympathize with a lot of my clients that are in the jails, sometimes force is justified by the corrections officers, or they have to use force. During court on Tuesday, he was wearing a uniform from the restricted housing unit. It's not that common these days to see someone get a life sentence, even a repeat convicted felony offender like this, on charges outside of some of the very most egregious crimes that we think of, like homicide, attempted homicide, rape, crimes involving children. For him to get this, if he'd have behaved himself throughout the trial process, I'm not saying he wouldn't have got 20 years, but he's 44 years old. You know, I'm 40 years old. I know if I was going to jail, I still want to get out when I'm 60. You know, you can live into your 80s. This guy though really shows, really shows the criminal, the theories of punishment out there, right? There's theories of punishment that are, there's deterrence theories of punishment, and there's retribution theories of punishment, and there's utilitarian theories of punishment. But really, there's two main theories, right? Is that somebody should be punished to a degree that is equal to the crime that they committed against society. That's more of the retribution side. And that's fallen out of style a little bit. And then there's deterrence, which says, well, I guess there's three. There's deterrence, which says you have to punish this person because you need to deter him and other people from the future. And then there's the utilitarian theory, which basically just says certain people you have to keep in jail because if you don't, they will just continue to hurt other people over and over and over again. So it's not about retribution. I mean, maybe a little bit. It's not about, a deterrence effect with an individual like this. I think what Judge Bassoon was saying is it's just about stopping you from ever doing this again. And it stands in stark contrast to somebody who may commit a very egregious crime, but may only do so once in their life. And if you guys watch the YouTube channel, maybe I'll put a link for it, of Dr. Todd Grande. Who watches Dr. Grande? If you guys go to my YouTube channel, we're probably in the same universes. He covered this story of a woman who found who her stepfather had naked pictures of her on his computer, and she bumped into them and she saw them, and it threw her into this fury. Now, it wasn't a momentary crime of passion. She planned it, but she killed him. Like, she drugged him and then choked him to death, and he died. And I thought it was interesting because Dr. Grande was basically essentially first-degree homicide, and Dr. Grande was like, this should be a 20-year sentence. And usually with homicide, first-degree homicides, we think about life sentence, okay? And I don't know if she was found guilty of first degree. I'm not sure if he was clear. I only watched the video once. I wasn't taking notes. But he decided to, he said 20 years. And that's the difference, right? You have a person who one time in their life acted deeply out of character with a significant trigger for that, right? Like, this person who they loved and trusted had naked pictures of them. I mean, I can see that just sending somebody's mind into a fury, right? And she'd never committed any crimes before in her life. And she snapped and boom, she killed this guy. Does that person deserve to go to jail for life? Maybe. Okay, but I think this is worth talking about. Does that person deserve to go to jail for life? When on the flip side, you have this individual who was a drug dealer, and he obviously had complete disregard for the law, but the crime here, now the rape crime is different. We're not talking about that, okay, because he wasn't convicted of that. Okay, she sentenced him on this, although that maybe had had a big effect. Even so, most people convicted of rape don't get a life sentence. So this guy gets a life sentence for guns and drugs. And there's a significant amount of drugs and very hard drugs, and because of a repeat offender. But it may, in fact, be justified because this woman over here who maybe took somebody's life acted so out of character. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve to be punished, put to jail, but maybe the 25-year sentence is more appropriate for her. And the life sentence is more appropriate from him, whereas he didn't take a life and the other person did. And it's an very interesting conversation. And, we don't hear much nowadays about consistency in sentencing. The reason why is because in the 1970s, in the 1980s and into the 90s, mandatory sentences were put in place in federal law, many state laws, in order to create consistency in sentencing. However, it really jammed up a lot of people, created a lot of harsh sentences, and most of those laws were repealed throughout the 1990s and coming into the 2000s. And so what you have now is a wide variety of sentencing. You might have an identical crime here in, let's say, California, and an identical crime in Alabama, and the judges on each cases may do something that is vastly different. The reason I don't have a problem with that is because I do think that each individual, especially in a country like the United States, where we respect the rights of individuals, we have certain rights imbued to us in the Constitution for the last several hundred years. I mean, these are basically sacred rights because of the way we respect individual in the United States. I do think it's appropriate that each case, each person be considered individually. I actually like that because that gives the power of the judge. It puts more power in the hands of the judges. And the judges are the ones who heard the trial, heard the lawyers, got to know that most intimately familiar with the case. Now, are there good judges and bad judges, or you can have judges with different philosophies that also impact that? Yeah, sure. But I still feel much better about that. I feel much better about that rather than some cookie cutter legal system where, you did, this is your third offense for this crime, you get 5 years automatically, and the judge has no say in it. I don't like that because that person might be significantly different from another person who committed the same crime. So I like individualized sentencing, individualized judges. And that's what happened here. And as some of you are saying in the comments, sometimes you can tell when it's retribution, when it's punishment, when we're just putting people away because they're going to continue to harm society if we don't. And I think most people agree after reading that article that her sentence was not too extreme. And Judge Bassoon, while I haven't really had any cases before her, I am aware of her. I've seen her before. She has a pretty good reputation. She does have a reputation for being tough. I don't think most people saw this coming. I would say this. I would add to this story here. I think Judge Bassoon was making an example of him too, and that goes to the deterrent theory of justice or incarceration and criminal punishment. I think that's kind of what happened there. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I know it's been a long time. I cannot, I didn't set everything up so that I can actually type into the chat box right now, but I'm happy to take some questions just because it's been a long time. Yeah, the strikes, I see you guys talking about third strike laws. In Pennsylvania, your punishments will progressively get steeper. But none of them, there's not that much what's called mandatory sentencing. So mandatory sentencing is when if a person is convicted, then the judge doesn't really have any say. It's mandatory. The judge has to impose this penalty. And mandatory sentencing, there is some stuff like that. That's kind of what three strike laws were. And there is stuff like that in Pennsylvania. Although, believe it or not, if the lawyers, if they don't want those to apply, and if you have a good defense attorney, or maybe the prosecutor doesn't think it's appropriate in a given case, you can get around those by changing the charge or doing certain things. So it's very, very interesting. Let's see. Zephiel, I don't think deterrence theory is any value with someone who clearly has mental issues. Yeah, that I agree. I mean, that may be true. And when I say deterrence theory, I mean, they're setting an example for the rest of society as well. So you punish, like, there's been studies, okay? I'm not going to I'd be willing to talk about the death penalty some other time. Okay, but there's studies that say the existence of the death penalty does not deter people from crimes. So one of the arguments against the death penalty is, why do we have it? Because it doesn't actually have any practical effect. Like, it doesn't actually change the real world. Like, the death penalty, as it exists, does not deter people. That's what multiple studies have said. I think there's some studies that have said it has a small deterrence effect, which means in certain states that have it, as compared to those who don't, it can have an effect on crime levels. But I believe a lot of the studies say that it doesn't. We can talk about the studies, this or that, but I'm just using that to highlight what deterrence theory is. Does the existence of the death penalty stop other people from committing crimes? Does the fact that this guy, got nailed, stop other people? You're also attempting to deter that individual, but you're sending a message to the rest of society. And excuse me, that's a big part of deterrence theory. Excuse me. And I think a lot of the basis of the death penalty, is a retribution. It is the feeling that if you took a life, your life should be taken. If you took multiple lives, your life should be taken, because that's about fairness, right? Because from a utilitarian perspective, which says you just have to incarcerate people to stop them from committing crimes, well, utilitarian perspective, a life sentence and the death penalty are exactly the same. The life penalty and the death. So if you can credibly and accurately, reliably incarcerate people for the rest of their lives, why put people to death? Because you've already taken them off the street. That's what utilitarian theory would say. But a lot of people who support the death penalty, that's not the motivation for the death penalty. It's not to keep the person from committing a crime again, because a life sentence can basically do the same. The idea is it's about what a person deserves. Just desserts might be a way to put it, or what we think morality demands in a situation like that. So let's see. Hey, Beverly, good to see you too. I missed you too. Brooke, thanks for stopping in. Chief, thanks for coming. Zephiel, all you guys, I really, really appreciate everybody coming in here tonight. Let's see what Michael in Houston says. So if an innocent person gets the death penalty and is executed, who should be executed for that innocent death? The judge, the jury, the prosecutor. Well, that's an excellent argument against the death penalty. And, there's most of you may know this saying is that rather 10 guilty people go free than one innocent person be incarcerated. So is that what it is? Is it 10-1? Would you prefer 10 guilty people go free than one innocent person be incarcerated? Now, should those other people be executed if an innocent person is executed? Well, I don't believe that that's the case if they acted under the law and under the context that the person was in fact guilty. And so when a person is I don't want to say in fact guilty, when a person is convicted in a court of law. So when a person is convicted in the court of law, there's a downstream effect. Like the rest of the system is required to essentially treat that person as convicted. You can't, I wouldn't make that, the people involved in implementing the death penalty don't deserve to be executed just because that person may have turned out to be innocent. The argument that is given by abolitionists of the death penalty is that, let's just not put anybody to death so that we can make sure we never put an innocent person to death. It's like let's just be really, really careful. And because the death penalty doesn't doesn't really has the, not because it doesn't, but because the death penalty is the same essentially as a life sentence, then if we don't put people to death, then we can be sure that we're not killing an innocent person. And so I'm trying to think of a way to sum it up, but it's more of it's like a caution at all costs approach, in order to protect a potential innocent life that could be taken. I think one way to look at the death penalty is it should maybe be reserved for really, really special cases, but really cases where not cases necessarily where the person went to trial and there was one witness. Like, there's certain cases, and especially me that have been doing this for a while, where you can look at a case and say that person was convicted, but there was only one witness or two witnesses, and eyewitnesses can be faulty, and there just wasn't ultimately that much evidence. So even though a jury convicted him, we have to treat him as convicted and guilty, but maybe this isn't the right case to use the death penalty. Whereas you have cases where individuals like these serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer or something, who admit to multiple murders and keep their body parts in their house, in where for sure this person killed so many people that there's just no reasonable way to say that individual might be innocent. Maybe the death penalty should be reserved just for that situation. That brought me to another thought. Crap, it's on the tip of my tongue. Hang on a second. Oh, one interesting thing while we're on this topic about serial killers, and let's call them high profile murderers or criminals, but I'm going to talk specifically about serial killers, though other criminals can have this attribute or let's call it negotiating tool that others don't. And that is what generally happens with these serial killers is they get caught and they know they have no chance, and they exchange the death penalty. They exchange the death penalty for revealing where the bodies are and admitting to other crimes. And so if you look at the death penalty in that way, the death penalty is a bargaining tool that can sometimes be used to help in the implementation of justice. And what do I mean by that? Well, one of the biggest purposes of the criminal justice system, because you can't bring somebody back, is to give the victims of crimes a little bit of peace. And knowing where the body is, knowing who killed the individual, being able to recover the body and then peacefully bury it is extremely valuable to these people who have lost loved ones. And without the death penalty, in many of these situations, there wouldn't have been any reliable way for the prosecutors to extract that information from them, right? That was the bargaining chip. Because the person already knows, like Dahmer and those people, they already know they're going to jail for life at the very least. The only thing they have left to fear is death. And if the prosecutors, they have the death penalty, and that's something they can say, listen, we're going to go for the death penalty, but we take it off the table if you tell us where the bodies are, who you killed. That's extremely valuable. And without the threat of the death penalty, then prosecutors and law enforcement may not be able to extract that information. Now, that's not a use for it in all crimes, but it's a use for it in many, many crimes, and many of the most serious crimes where society really does want to find out what the heck happened. And let me tell you, listen, Mary, I am not by any means a Raiders fan. the first time I drank out of this cup, it's on a prior video. I almost choked to death. I almost died. I had to, like, when you sip a little bit of poison, like those people who don't want to be poisoned, so you build up your tolerance. I had to build up a tolerance to drinking out of this cup, but it was given by a dear friend, and so I enjoy drinking out of it every now and then. Plus, it's a nice cup, but I don't root for the Raiders or like them at all. But a fan of the show sent me this cup. That's why I drink it. So if somebody wants to send me a cup, I would be happy to drink out of your cup as well. I met a man who was searching for his daughter, who was murdered on my property. I thought he was looking for mushrooms. Recovery of the body gives families closure. Yeah. And without the death penalty, believe it or not, you'd have less closure. And so, I think that's why a lot of district attorneys and prosecutors continue to push for the death penalty. They continue to advocate for the death penalty. I mean, it's another tool in their toolkit, right? It's something that they can use in order to negotiate on a case. So, it's very, very interesting. Dawn, I don't know about the Cowboys Cup. It may turn me to stone. If you send me a Cowboys Cup, I will drink out of it on this show. I mean, I might choke a little bit. I don't think it'll end me. But if you send it, I will use it. There's a Dateline episode about a girl still missing from when I was a kid. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of people that out there that are still missing. His daughter's remains have yet to be found. Murderer killed himself in the police parking lot. Wow. In the comments, if you look on my channel, Donna, I have my address, my business. You can send it to my law firm. I mean, if you just Google my name, you'll see my law firm. I'm happy to receive mail there. There should be no life sentence except for life in prison. Who gives the right for society to remove the life of another? It's an interesting perspective. A lot of people believe that. I'm really relieved to hear your Raiders story, Joe. You got to draw the line at the Cowboys, though. I had this conversation. So I was I'm Pittsburgh. I bleed black and gold. And some of the people here in Pittsburgh are rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, a lot of people say, and this is what the local Pittsburghers say, well, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. You're both in Pennsylvania. Crap, both cities start with a P. All right, not that far away. Well, not that close either. It's solid 4.5, 5 hour drive to Philadelphia. And let me tell you something else too. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are not that similar as far as having things in common. Pittsburgh is a Rust Belt city. I mean, the cities that have something in common with Pittsburgh are Buffalo, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Detroit. Okay, these are our sister cities, not Philadelphia. Yes, I cannot root for the Eagles. I cannot do it. I don't want to say that. I did root for them when they were playing the Patriots, okay? And so sometimes I have to see the matchup and just feel my gut inside. I cannot root for the Eagles against the Chiefs. And I don't love the Chiefs, but I got to root for the Chiefs against the Eagles, okay? And I don't hate the Eagles. The real thing here is the real battle is the hockey team. So the Pittsburgh Penguins against the Philadelphia Flyers. I hate the Flyers. I hate all thing Flyers. Okay, they get dirty when they play Pittsburgh. It's ugly. It's been ugly many, many times. I don't hate the Phillies or the Eagles. And I'm not that into NBA just because we don't really have a basketball team. I do like college basketball. Pitt Panthers have a really good squad this year. Watch out for them. You heard that here first. But the Eagles I don't hate, but I can't root for them. Not against. I did root for them against the Patriots. So there's obvious like the division teams. I really can't root for. The Ravens, no way. The Browns, not gonna happen. The Bengals, those two I dislike most. But then you get the Bengals, okay. And then with the Steelers, you got the Patriots. Like, we cannot root for the Patriots no matter what. You got the Cowboys. We can't root for the Cowboys almost no matter what. And the Raiders are kind of up there too, okay? The Raiders and the Steelers had a huge rivalry in the 70s, right? The Steelers had a rivalry with the Cowboys and the Raiders. Those were the teams in the 70s. And those other teams are more of like fresher, newer rivalries. And Philly isn't any of those teams, okay? But give me the Chiefs over the Eagles. So I'm rooting Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think Patrick Mahomes, if he's healthy, man, there's nothing like him. He's the best. He's the best right now. He's one of the best I've ever seen, and he's a great dude. So I'm rooting for the Patriots. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. Come Super Bowl. Joe, go to Mass and have the Cowboys Cup blessed. That's the only way I'll be able to drink out of it and not choke. The first time I drank out of that Raiders Cup, I had choked. I almost choked to death. You'll find my father with a Giants hat on, my mother, the Bears. I don't mind the Bears or the Giants. I dislike Philadelphia more than either of those teams. I rooted for the Giants in the Super Bowls when they had Eli because they were playing the Patriots. But I could root for the Giants. I have nothing against the Giants. I can root for the Bears. I like the 1985 Bears, the monsters of the Midwest and this and that. I like the Bears. I like Chicago. But the Eagles, too hard, too much. Hey, Beverly, the Jaguars, they're coming up, man. They are coming up. Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. I like Doug Peterson, too. He is a heck of a coach. Jacksonville has good days ahead. Nothing was better when the Steelers would beat the Oilers and the locals would be crying their eyes out. The Oilers and the Steelers, some great games. They were in the same division. I loved the Oilers logo. It was the oil rig. I mean, oh man. I love the Oilers. I love their colors too. The Titans basically kept their colors with like the light blue. Good stuff. But listen, thank you everybody for tuning in. I forgot how much fun I have talking with you guys and making these videos. Thank you for jumping in. I'm going to try to be more consistent. I have just been, my law firm, I got a couple of lawyers working for me now. I got a couple paralegals. My law practice I've been really lucky, really blessed. It's been going really, really well, and it just takes up all my time. And while I enjoy doing this, I'm telling by 6 o'clock, I get up early in the morning. By 6 p.m., I am exhausted. I'm just blown out. Like, I'm too tired. And that's really what it comes down to, is being tired and having to prioritize my time. And I have to put the law firm first. But thank you guys. And Brooke, who's your alma mater? Who's your alma mater's hockey squad? I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of hockey. What's my alma mater or Brooks? Well, I went to the University of Pittsburgh and then Duquesne University. And the University of Pittsburgh, I believe, has a hockey team. But we're much better in football and basketball, though we've been down in basketball for a while. The Oswego Lakers. That's interesting. Excuse me. I know Oswego's in New York. But the Lakers, Brooke, the Lakers are a basketball team. So, while I respect that, it's a little weird that your hockey team is named after a basketball team. Okay? That I hope they have a different logo I guess I can get it because New York has all those lakes, like the Finger Lakes or whatever. Is that what's going on there? They're named after the Finger Lakes. But Oswego is a town in Illinois, 30 minutes. We're here on Lake Ontario. Okay, I don't know where else. Isn't Oswego in New York, or is it in Canada? I'm sure there's multiple Oswegos. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Common Sense Academy. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you haven't bought my book, go ahead and buy my book. Jay Novacek. He was good. He was good, man. He was a killer in the 90s. All right, everybody. Have a great day and watch out for these sovereign citizens.